What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Coffee and conversation number 13. I cannot believe that I'm at conversation number 13, but I keep moving when tells me to continue to keep moving. So, as you know, what I always do first is the Java of the day. So, the Java of the day, I got this little around the world coffee masters. Today I'm drinking Colombian coffee. So, never been to Colombia, but I heard that they got some strong coffee. Make you stay awake for a long time. So, but I got this from Amazon. Definitely good. I've drunk a couple of other different countries. I think I had one on the show already, but yeah, that's the job of the day. So let's get into this conversation. Today's conversation is going to be about how does your health affect your mental health? How does your health affect your mental health? So this is, talking about people who are dealing with illnesses like cancer, diabetes, anything that can affect you in such a way that it really messes with your day to day, or it's messed with your day to day when you get the news. So, my guest, you've seen him before. He's been on here, and I'm so happy that he decided to come on. This will be a good conversation. I'm looking forward to it. Um, my boy, my boy, Trip. What's going on, man?
What up, Kev? What up, man? I'm glad to be here, man. Again, we having these dope conversations, man. It's genuine and it's natural. We're gonna be transparent like always, and we're gonna be here for the community. Let's do something great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, man. So, tell the viewers your background when it comes to your what you're dealing with currently with your health.
So actually, like this time last year, I had just went through a traumatic surgery. I had a piece of my lung removed to what seemed to me like came out of nowhere. I just got done battling COVID. I just got over that, and they had just found a spot on my lungs, and then they had saw that it grew in the span of like 2 to 3 months. So once they saw that the spot grew, they got really really concerned as to what was going on, and they really wanted to know what it was. So then they decided to again take a piece of my lung to do a biopsy on it. Only thing is, when they went in for that biopsy, they found a lot more. They found something way worse. It was already, they had already found cancer in the lymph nodes, and they already saw it when they went in. So they ended up, it went from a biopsy to a wedge resection. They took a bunch of my lymph nodes out. They took a piece of my lung, and then like 12 hours later, I woke up. So I was in the hospital for like 11 days, and then waiting on the biopsy results to come back, and that's when they told me I had cancer. And I'll never forget that feeling. I'll never forget that day. Just seeing the surgeon come in and was like, you could just see it all over his face, like he didn't want to tell me, like he couldn't believe it. So now here I am a year later, still fighting, still going through a lot of things. I'm still active duty Air Force. So I'm still waiting on the medical side to play out to see what my next chapter is going to entail.
So, when you got the news, because and we're gonna dive deep into some other stuff, but when you got the news, it's always a shocking like moment when you when you get told, hey, you have cancer. Like, what did that do to you? First question. Second question, how has that mentally affected your family?
Man, I I can tell you I cried. Cause like I was already, this was probably like day 7 of being in the hospital, not knowing when I'm going home. I got tubes coming out of me. I'm hooked up to machines. People are constantly in my room every couple hours. So I'm still like dealing with the trauma of that. And I just remember just him saying like we found cancer, and just not knowing what to think, because when you think cancer, just off the ignorance of it itself, like you're automatically like, dang, how much time I got left to live, right?
Right, right.
Like they wouldn't say. They just said I had cancer, and he was like, "Hey, you're gonna have, this is the fight of your life, and you're gonna have to start right now. Like, if you want to live, you have a chance, but just know it's gonna be a hard fight." So it was tough, just to hear those words and what it did to me mentally. It stripped me butt naked of all my insecurities. It stripped me butt naked of everything I've ever hid behind. It stripped me naked of every lie that I've ever held on to, because at that point in time, I was face to face fighting for my life. Like, no amount of money that I had could do anything for me. No relationship that I had could save me from that truth. No job, nothing, like nothing. I had to face that head on, and it was crushing. My soul was crushed that day, crushed.
Mm. So how did your wife deal with the news?
She was she stood she it hurt, because for one, like, she was the one that was awake during this whole thing, because all I remember is going to the hospital like 3 o'clock in that morning. They did some blood draws on me, and the next thing I know, I was out, right? She was the one that had to live through that phone call. Hey, where are you at? Are you here? We found something. um we can do this right now, or we can set this up for a later date, but we really need to go in there and get what's in there. And for her to, like, to get that phone call, for one, like, getting a phone call in surgery is never good if they're not saying, hey, he's done. And it wasn't that kind of phone call for her. So she was kind of traumatized by that too, because she didn't know if she was getting ready to lose her husband. And we had just been married, probably, we got married in February, and that happened in August. So we was only married like 6 months. And for her to
Mm.
get that phone call, and for me, and a lot of it's my fault because I downplayed the seriousness of it. Like, I've never had a biopsy before. I don't know anybody that's personally had a biopsy. So to me, I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna go get this thing. They're gonna get this whatever out of my ribs. I mean, out of my lungs. And I'm gonna be back at work. And for it to turn into this, like, I feel like I set everybody up for failure by not taking it serious. Because when that unfolded the way it did, like, it crushed a lot of people, because a lot of people thought that they were going to lose me, and then I was suffering complications from that extended surgery as well. So it hurt her pretty bad, but she stood tough through it all. Like, because we still had kids that were in school too, so we still had stuff that we had to handle with the kids. The kids were in school, and then I still had stuff I had to get done as well. Bills still had to get paid. So I think it's something that we're still working on to this day, is how quickly that unfolded.
So you talk about, that you have kids. How old are your kids?
So there, between the two of us, there's six of them. We have a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, and then we have a pair of 11-year-old girls, and we have an 8-year-old, and we have a 13-year-old son.
So how have they dealt with everything?
It's been we've seen almost everything. We've seen them be sad because, like, they don't know what's to come, or they don't know how much longer I have. And then we've seen them kind of cherish life a little bit more, like cherish the relationship a little bit more, and take time to make more memories. Because that's all we ever preach. Like, hey, yeah, this is an unfortunate event, but you know what I'm saying, we all got to go one day. And what we don't want to happen in our family, in our household, is for us to have those woulda, coulda, shouldas. Like, dang, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I should have did this. So as a family, and as kids that are resilient anyway, military children at that, they took it in stride. Like, they were pretty understanding. They get it sometimes. Like, when I can't get out and do stuff all the time with them, they're understanding. They wait. They're patient with me. So I've been
Hmm.
very blessed to have, kids that age that they're kind of independent and can kind of see things like, okay, he's hurting, so he's not being mean. He's in pain right now. So let me see how I can help.
Okay. So you said something, and it made me think about when it comes to and man, we gonna talk and just let it flow. But it made me think about how when it comes to I'll tell you something. So when I was in middle school, I I went to the doctor. I remember my mom taking me to the doctor, and I remember um, it was a well-known children's hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And I remember going to the hospital and went there because I had this knot on my finger, and so going there, I was just like, and I'm young. like not understanding everything. So I'm young. So I go there, and then next thing I know, I remember my mom sitting there and she talking to the nurse, and the nurse out of nowhere says, "Your son has cancer." My mom lost it because I was only, man, at that time I think I was in middle school, and my mom crying, and so I'm crying because she crying. I don't even know, like I'm not understanding because like I knew like my granddad passed from lung cancer, but I'm not understanding the severity of it because I'm young, and so I'm a child still, trying to understand things in the world. And I remember the doctor came in and kind of settled my mom down and was like, you know, it's benign. And so they did the surgery, took it out, but it was a benign cyst. But that impact of telling somebody, "Hey, you have this," it can mess with you to the point of like it could. And the thing is, it not only affects the person that has it, it affects everyone around you. And so how you deal with it, and how you like the person who has it, like how you deal with it and how you cope with it can, set the mood for everyone else. If you're in a happy spot, then everyone around you is going to be happy. But if you're dragging and you're like, man, I don't like, everyone around you is going to feel the same way. So it's hard. And I want you to touch on that because I know like getting that information and someone telling you that, it's like, how do you cope? And sometimes, being the man, you gotta put up a facade.
Yep, chest up, chin.
But in your quiet time, in your private area, you're like, man, like this is hard.
Oh
And
yeah,
if you're a faith-based man, a faith-based person, you're like, God, okay, I wasn't expecting this. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, I always look and say, I know there's someone that can heal, that can take this illness from me.
yeah,
If it's meant to be, he's gonna take this illness from me, and I'm gonna live. But I can't live like tomorrow's my last day. I
yeah,
have to continue to press because I have to show my kids and I have to show my family that in spite of the bad things that happen to you, that you still have to go on. So I just want you, just to touch on that because I know the impact that it can have on the people that surround you.
yeah. So definitely. So for me, it's a daily thing. Um, like what may have worked on Monday probably ain't gonna work on Tuesday.
Right.
I started off the first 6 months like, man, it sucks, but I'm gonna beat it. And then after, there's only so much positivity you can have. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because some days are gonna be worse than others. But ultimately, man, it definitely comes with its ups and downs. And a lot of times there's a lot more downtime than ups. Like for me personally, man, I was just there last week where I was like, man, I'm over this. I'm just ready to go. I'm tired. I'm tired of taking the medicine. I'm just leave it. It's out of my hands. It's beyond my control. And I had to talk to somebody, and they were like, "That's normal to feel that way because what you're going through is a lot." But what the big thing was, she was like, "You can't feel like that tomorrow. So you don't even know what tomorrow's going to bring. So be hopeful." And she was like, "I'm not gonna let you take this L too many days in a row because at some point, you know what I'm saying. My grandmother used to say a broke clock is right twice a day, right? So you
Right.
know what I'm saying. At some point, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, you can take this L right now, but at some point, it's gonna, you know what I'm saying. The sun is gonna shine. This too shall pass." And just reminding myself of that whenever things get bad because I expect the dark times to come. Like there's so much more to it than just the cancer for me because I'm a human, right? I still got kids. I still
Right.
got a co-parent with somebody that's, you know what I'm saying? And life is still very much so happening. So I get a chance to kind of balance that sometimes. Use the distress as eustress. Like Today it's not cancer pain, but hey, maybe one of the kids got in trouble. I'm just glad I'm not hurting like I was yesterday. Or hey, I'm hurting today, but hey, at least my kids are here. It's all about perspective, man, and just how and who you have around. Because the people that I have employed around me, like they know what I'm dealing with. I'm transparent with some of them. And that's another thing. It's hard to be transparent because you want people to be okay. I don't want the thing for me. I don't like to go around and be like, yeah, man, I'm fighting stage 4 cancer. Cause then everybody goes, what? No, oh
Right.
no, I'm
Right.
sorry. And it's like, no, I don't want that. I'm good. I don't want that. I'm straight today. I'm good today. I'm here to inspire you. Like I'm fighting stage 4 cancer, but that's not a death sentence. And that's one thing that I've tried to pride myself on most days, but some days it doesn't work. And it's it could take a simple thing as me just going to the store and go get a milkshake that can change my day around, or just me getting a random text message from somebody I ain't heard in a long time. Hey, bro, just checking on you, man. What you got going on? And just stepping outside of myself and allowing my village to love me and listen to me and hear me out and not having to be performative, because that's one thing that I also had to deal with early on in my battle as well, was being performative. Every time somebody would come in or every time somebody would come see me, I'd perk up and what's up, y'all? I'm good. I'm still me. And then by the end of that 10-minute visit, like, man, I'm gassed because that was all the energy I had. And then my homegirl Sade sat me down and was like, bro, you don't gotta be performative like that, man. Like you're dealing with something, you're dealing with a monster right now. There is no way you're gonna ever be who you were before the prior to this. Like whoever you are now, I have to be that. I can't be the same person I was. I can't do the same things that I love to do. I love the game. I love to play sports. Like I can't do that stuff right now. But that doesn't mean that I have to walk away from it. It doesn't mean I have to have that negative mind state about it. And the people, again, my circle and my team around me, they let me have my days, but also they're gonna get on my head if I start to kick the bucket a little bit too long. They'll give me a day or two, but I've been blessed to have people that's gonna say, "Hey, bro, we ain't doing this. Hey, come on, go ahead, take a shower, go brush your teeth, get out of this funk."
Man, you are an inspiration, and I say this because, man, this is definitely an emotional conversation because
Yeah,
you every time you and I have had conversations, you're upbeat, you're laughing, you're smiling, and it's like you're not letting what you have defeat you. And I always say this, and I heard this a long time ago, so I say it a lot, is what you have is just what you have. It does not dictate who you are as a person. So if you let what you have dictate who you are as a person, then it's going to affect you wholeheartedly in everything that you try to do. Like I remember when I first got diagnosed with major depression disorder, and I let that affect me for so many years because I let it dictate who I was.
right,
And I think that I had to get to a point, um, a rock bottom, to understand that at the end of the day, this is just something you have. This is something that you can deal with, and when it's your time, it's your time. But at the end of the day, dealing with whatever illness it is, um, and some, I think about my mom, and she had lupus, and
mhm,
lupus is not curable. But at
right,
the end of the day, my mom, I still remember, man, this will be an emotional show. I'm trying not to
yeah,
be, but it's gonna be an emotional show because I wanted to talk about this. I needed to talk about this, but it's the thinking of, like, not letting it affect who you are as a person. Yes, I got it. Yes, it was hard to receive the news. But at the end of the day, how can I be an inspiration to somebody else
yep,
that may not be like me, may not have the support that I have, but at the end of the day, they still can glean something from me,
right,
whether it's my, personality, whether it's the resiliency that I have to be able to overcome anything that comes my way. And so I always look at it and I say, man, like this is hard. But then you look at somebody else and it's not trying to compare apples and oranges to each other, but it's looking like, man, I'm just dealing with this, but this dude is dealing with this. So I can't complain. And
Yeah.
so you have to look at somebody else's life and say, man, like I gotta get myself to a point to where I'm not down on myself because somebody else is happy and they're dealing with something that is detrimental, like to their like loved ones
Yeah.
that they can pass, but yet they're in a good mood. And
Yeah.
you're dealing with something that's controllable if you eat right, whether it's diabetes, whether it's high blood pressure,
Yeah.
and these things are serious. But you're talking about what you have, and trust me, I know, like I didn't get to watch and see on a daily basis. I know my brother did, and you met my brother on one of the other shows. But I remember, just being able to know how my mom went through the process when she had lupus and what she had to deal with, and um, just seeing that, um, and then my dad having stage 4 cancer. Um, just understanding it can be hard on the family to see the toll on your life. But I always look at it and I think God had to take me through some things in order for me to see it from a different perspective. And so, man, I really honor you. I admire you because a lot of people are not where you are.
Yeah.
And like you have your bad days, but it seems like you have more good days than bad days.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like what you go through can help someone else push through each day when they're like, man, I want to give up. Just like you, I want to give up, but you still push through.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And that's it's not like from what I've seen, like people so I'm gonna just be real with you, man. Like a lot of things that keep me in that space again, man, is just believing. Like I have to tell myself on my worst days. One of the things I tell myself, man, if I wasn't supposed to be here, he wouldn't have woke me up from surgery. He would have took me
Mm,
then. Like I know what I'm doing. Like he has shown me clear as day what my purpose is. I'm here to help people. I'm here to inspire people. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm at a crossroads, right? Because of course I want my career. I love my job. I love what I do. I've impacted so many people in the Air Force. The Air Force has done so much for me. I've drank the blue Kool-Aid. I've done it all, right? But now God has shown me that my purpose and my reach extends far outside of the Air Force now. And I've transcended that. So now I just want to use the time that I do have left and use the talents that I do have and the talents that I have gained this far in my journey to, like you said, inspire other people, man. Because this is hard. There's no handbook for none of this stuff. There's no handbook that tells you how to grieve. There's no handbook that's going to tell you how to deal with depression. They'll give you some medicine. You can talk about it. You know what I'm
well,
saying? But it's only so much you can do, and you have to take control of that. And if you don't control it, your mind will. And with the internet and the access to information we have these days, like man, I'll never forget. I was just on the internet last week, like man, what is wrong with me? And everything was pointing to death, and I was like, what is going on? Like this can't be it. Like I don't feel like death, so I can't be that close to it. And then I just got to remember that people love me, man. So it was like, what do I really do? What do I think? Because I feel like hell every day. I feel like hell. It's a fight for me every day. I never have another normal day where I can just get up and not worry about anything, right? Like I never have that. But also, you know what I'm saying? Who does? Nobody's life is perfect. We all gonna have our obstacles that we get to go through. This is just my obstacle, stage 4 lung cancer. And stage 4 doesn't mean the end. That means I just have the furthest way to fight. And I'm okay with that today. And that's being okay with that today is what's going to get you through a lot of days. Like just accepting yourself as you are today. Yesterday don't matter. Tomorrow not even here yet, bro. But you here today. People love you today. You're able to spend. You have another day to make another choice, and to love, man, and to live in love and to allow people to help you out. Like I like me and my wife, like our family has been through so much this past year, man. Like my mom is here right now, just here to help. She don't want to do nothing but help us out because like this is a lot. It's a lot, man, and going through it on your own, like you. One thing I had to like just really just understand and grasp because we're all like, especially as men, like we're all like, hey man, I got this. I'm good, chest up, chin out, business at all times. But we can't be that. Like we human, bro. We human. Like, at some point, we're gonna have to take the cape off and be vulnerable. And I've had people around me that have allowed me to be that vulnerable. And although it's made me uncomfortable, it's also made me stronger because now I'm able to say, no, I'm not feeling that today. Or nah, I don't think I can handle this today. I I push myself, but it's like, look, I'm tired, guys. I don't know what else to say. Whereas in the past, I've just always been macho man, ready to say the world and anybody's beckoning and call. And again, just being like I've had to look myself in the mirror and say, who am I? I've had to reinvent myself a bunch of times. Every day is like I have a meeting with myself. Like, how's the day gonna go, bro? How do you feel? What are you really thinking? Is there anybody that made the day better? Is there anybody that made the day worse? All right, for the person that made the day better, like let's focus on appreciating them. So I do that. I'll shoot a text. Like every once in a while, my circle, people will get a random text from me. It'll be a paragraph long. And it's just me being thankful. Hey, bro, or hey, sis, thank you for being there for me. I appreciate you. It's been a long journey. I appreciate you having me. Or if somebody had made my day worse, I have people that I can talk to. Hey, man, this person, man, she messed my appointment up. They canceled it, or she read my results wrong. Like, I don't know what to do with this. And they're like, hey, it's okay. And that like it's a daily thing. It's a daily fight. If you focus on a daily fight, man, you'll be all right. But when you start focusing on the grand scheme of things, you start worrying about stuff that you could have did last week and last year, and your anxiety is getting to you about tomorrow, man. It can be a lot, man. And it's not for the weak. And you can't go through this alone. You cannot go through this alone, man.
Man, I wish we had a commercial break. um,
Oh man, we're gonna get through it, kid. We're gonna get through it, man.
so I think about, man, like, everything you were saying, and I think about being transparent, man. Like I remember, hmm, hmm, I remember, you know, when you talk about grief, man, grief is hard.
Whew.
It's something. I took agreement. My church does this grieving program is called K's Ways, and it's blessed so many people, um, to where you don't even like people like can do it online, but it's a 6 week course, and when I did it, um, I was at a point where I just didn't know where to turn, um, because when you mention the word grief, it just made me think about the grief of my mom, like not being there, and just everything that happened with that, and then my dad, and understanding, and man, um wow, understanding, what my brother had to deal with, because you're watching your mother go through this, and you're trying to be strong, and you're trying to move past, um, seeing your mom suffer,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you know, understanding that, man, everything has a purpose, everything, God has a plan for everything, and I didn't understand. Now, like, it's crazy hearing you and just listening to you makes me think about my brother, and him having to go through all that, and him having to, um folks, I'm sorry if I cry. I just this is a definitely a hard topic for me. Um But just understanding the grieving process and understanding I can't do nothing for you. Like, I can't help you. Like, I can't save you. Like you said, like the cape, like you're the superhero for me. You're my dad. You're my son. Like, I can't do nothing for you but to pray.
Yeah.
And sometimes it hurts because you want to do whatever you can to save the person.
You're willing to do whatever.
Yeah.
You
And
wanna-
so it's like when you're watching, and I can only imagine what your wife and your kids go through
yeah.
because it's like, man, I want to save my husband. I want to save my dad.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I can do but pray. And it's like, it messes with you. It not only affects your mental health, it affects their mental health because it's like, yeah, you're not thinking, let me live today. Let me live today and worry about tomorrow. Most people think about tomorrow and thinking about it's today will be my last day, like you said. And sometimes it's so hard to get past that because you're thinking to yourself, I got an incurable illness.
Yep, it's only a matter of time.
But man, I'm not gonna preach, but I believe that God can heal, that
Yep.
He can deliver, that He can set free, and there's no boundary that He can't touch. And when you look at what has happened and seeing people get healed of cancer and seeing people, well, I'm telling you, to see you the way you are and to know how my dad was, and my dad, it went quick for him in a year, and he started to deteriorate, and just to know at some point he didn't even recognize me, but at the same time, again, I honor and I applaud you because you don't let it affect you. You don't let it take you there. Because some people just say, I'm gonna wake up today and I'm done. I remember when I had COVID, caught COVID back in 2020. First time I had it twice. First time I caught COVID. Man, when I tell you, went to the hospital. I remember going to the hospital that night. It was the day right before Thanksgiving, 2020. Went to the hospital. Went to the hospital and um, they did the test, and the doctor was like, "Hey, you have COVID." And of course, it was fairly new. The vaccine hadn't came out. This is the first year of COVID, and I remember um, the doctor telling me, "Well, we're gonna have to send you home because your pulse ox is not where it needs to be to hospitalize you." And a part of me was like, "Man, I want to be hospitalized. Do what you got to do." But then a part of me was like, "This should be a good thing."
Yeah.
And I remember going home, and I got worse and worse each day, and I didn't have anybody. And I started thinking about, man, how be, being in that situation to where all those people who passed, but they didn't have nobody around them because they couldn't back then, and being able to help, like what we're talking about now, like you just want to help, but you couldn't even do that back then. Like I couldn't let nobody in my apartment. Like I had to suffer, and I remember Trip when bro, it was 2 days I just laid in the bed, and I remember, man, I said, God, this is it. I said, God, this is it. Like when I say I felt bad to talk, I couldn't even talk because I was just going through. And I remember I literally had given up. Literally had given up. I just I didn't call nobody. I just said this is it because it started messing with me.
Mm-hmm.
It affected me to the point I said this is it. And it's like, how do you recover because your health, and you're like, man, I God, why? Like, I can't go out like this. Like, I got so much to do, but I
Yeah.
can't go out like this. And I remember, man, laying in my bed that second day, and I remember um, this song just hit me, just hit my spirit. This is how you fight. This is how I fight my battle, and um, and it pushed me because I'm telling you, Trip. If it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for Holy Spirit God just talking to me, I don't know where I would be.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk. No one was around. It was just me. And through that experience, it showed me, man, you can be at your lowest point, but God can pull you up to the highest point.
Most certainly. Most
And
certainly.
so, man, like I continue to say, man, I applaud you because somebody else that might be going through what you're going through might be like, man, I'm tired, I'm done, like I can't do this no more. But at the end of the day, you're still pushing through,
Yeah.
and it's a testimony to someone. It's a testimony to be able to say, in spite of the bad, and in spite of how people might look at this and be like, man, you should be sad, you should be down, you should be looking the part of how you feel. And that's where the mental health aspect creeps in, because now you're letting what you have affect you in your daily routine.
Right.
Yes, you might not be able to do everything that you need to do, that you used to do, but now it's affecting you mentally to where you're going to start living and acting that part, because now you're feeling like, yeah, like I got stage 4 cancer. I'm 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 gonna be living like I got stage 4 cancer, instead of living like I'm living for today. I'm living for today because I still got a family to provide for. I'm living for today because somebody looking at this looking at this podcast, somebody that I will run into, that God will put in my path, needs to hear my testimony, needs to understand that there is a way, no matter if you got high blood pressure, no matter if you got diabetes, no matter what, to encourage somebody today to be able to push on, to move on in spite of what goes on. Because I'm telling you, it's hard when the family hears it, but it's harder when you hear it as the person going through it. and
Yeah.
and you can only imagine. And I know people with lupus, and I know people that got cancer and other things that people have dealt with, and some people let it affect them, but then some people live life like you wouldn't even know that they had it, because they're not letting that affect them to the point of them not being able to live life.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've understood this when both of my parents passed, that life waits on no one. Enjoy life, enjoy the friends and family that you have, enjoy the time that you have, because we never know tomorrow. We never know what tomorrow is going to be, but we have to understand this, that each day that we wake up and we have breath in our body,
Man.
we got to be thankful for that. In
Man.
spite of everything bad around us, and I'm preaching to myself too. Everything around us, we still got to look at the fact that we got breath in our body. Somebody did not wake up today.
Man,
But
definitely.
we were able to wake up today, get out of the bed on our own without no assistance, and be able to do the things. And sometimes we take that for granted. I'm
Yeah,
one of those people. We take it for granted. And it's not that we do it on purpose, but we've gotten into this mode of the regular of being able to just say, I'm going to do this, and understanding, hey, I'm going to do this, and not knowing, understanding the real thing that is trying to be shown to you is that, man, today is not promised, tomorrow is not promised, but live each day like it's your last day. But
mm,
don't, when people say that, live each day like it's your last day, I'm not saying go out and try to do everything on your bucket list, and go and spend all your money, and now you like, man, I ain't got nothing in my account for my family. And one of the things I think about when you were talking earlier is legacy.
man,
What will my legacy be when I leave? Have the things that I've done in my life up to this point, whenever I am called home, what will my legacy be to the people that mattered? What will people say about me? Will they say that I've done everything that I can do in this marathon, this race of life? And so, when we talk about that trip, man, it's bro, I
hey,
man,
I'm
I,
already,
I have so much respect, and I just, again, I applaud you, because still being able to do what you need to do and be still in the United States Air Force, which is the best branch in the military, but
hey,
we
hi.
won't go there. We won't go there. I know somebody gonna make a comment after that comment, but it's cool. You should have joined the Air Force, but those other branches, they cool. But being able to be a part of something like that, man, is a testimony,
It is.
because not everybody, is able to join the military. Not everybody still is in the military, and to be in as long as you've been in, you said 14 years, it would be in October. Man, that is truly a testament and a blessing. And I always say this: you never know what God is going to do in your situation,
Man,
because your
what?
situation can turn into a nationwide thing. Like, he can catapult you to something greater, to understand that I healed you of stage 4. Now, what are you going to do to show people that I'm real, that no matter what a person says, no matter if a person says and feels like, man, they can't make it, that I'm here to tell you that you can. I'm here to show you that you can make it in spite of. So, man, I keep saying it, but I applaud you, and I respect you, man, because it's so many people that are not being able to deal with it. So let's talk about resiliency,
Whew.
because that's a word that it's how can you be resilient during a time like this?
Man, so first and foremost, man, just for everybody that's out there listening, like I am not saying we are not saying that as long as you keep a positive attitude, every day is gonna be great. Because like I said earlier, man, I definitely have my down days. Like last week was a terrible week for me, bro. Terrible. I wasn't eating. I wasn't taking my medication. I stopped responding to people, and I was just showing all the signs. And luckily, like I said, I have people around me that know me well enough to pick up on that. Like even the most subtle things. Like if they notice something, the smallest thing, I know either somebody's gonna call or somebody's gonna pull up. And that's part of what keeps me going. Because I mean, is it easier? Because again, when I tell people, hey, I got stage 4 lung cancer, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, hey, You can have that. I don't know what to do with that. Like, cause people tell me all the time, I don't know what to tell you, and I'm like, don't tell me anything. Just be inspired by what I'm going through, and just like I said, I have my down days. One of the many things, like when I first found out about this, and I didn't know what else to do, I went to the internet, and the thing that I saw, I typed in stage 4 lung cancer, and it was like a thread of depression and sorrow and hurt, and just it was a dark hole for me. And so seeing that, something in me was like, bro, that's not you. That's not going to be you. That doesn't have to be you. And it's struck something in me to be different and stand out. Like I gotta take this with my chest out. You know what I'm saying? Chest up, chin out. And I've just the man, I just come so far. And it seems like some days, like again, I have really good days and I have really bad ones. And being resilient is probably it's the hardest one of them all, because it's easy to be, I ain't gonna say it's easy to be depressed, but the easiest decision of them all is to lay there and just be like, man, I'm not doing this today. I'm tired. Tired of taking these pills. I'm tired of these people poking me. I'm tired of telling people, hey, I got stage 4 lung cancer. I'm tired of telling people I hurt. I'm tired of telling people about this same spot that's been uncomfortable for a year now. And a lot of days I cry. Like I cry, man. This is seeing me how I am now. Like even just walking past myself in the mirror, I'm not who I am. I'm not who I was. But again, I have a praying family, and I believe in a God that is so dope and so great. He doesn't let me stay there long. He sends something or somebody that kind of changes it for me. Whether that be my kids, whether that be my wife, whether that be my parents, my in-laws, like it I man, this is man.
Yeah, man. I get it. Um, man, you said something, and I was a touch on it, but you actually brought it up. We always when we get diagnosis, the first thing that we usually do is go to the internet, and that's the worst thing to do
The man,
because because as soon as you go to the internet, it's like all depressing stuff, and you start thinking, "Oh my gosh." Oh, and so that starts messing with you mentally because now you're reading what man has put out on the internet,
yep,
what man has said about these things, and I started to realize because I'm one of those people, and I had to realize to myself, I said, "What are you doing? Why are you going and you're looking at what man put out?" Now, I'm not saying that everything that's put out is false, everything that's put out, you know, science and all that, because you have people that have went to study this and all of that. But man, like when you start looking more and more, because I'm telling you, I mean, bro, I'm telling you, when I hear something, I just be like, I get my phone and I start looking. And
yep,
so I can remember when my mom told me that she had lupus. Never heard of it before. Well, on the internet, started looking. I got depressed because I was like, they started talking about, it's common in women, like all this stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like in my mind, it was messing with me. But
yep,
then I had to realize that at the end of the day, like I can't let what man put out affect me. I have to understand that there's someone higher that
exactly.
can heal, that has shown that he can heal, that has I have seen people that have came back from breast cancer, that have came back from any I mean some of these illnesses that's out there, and to understand that at the end of the day, man, we all have to understand that we're all going to pass at some point.
Of course.
It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but don't let man's words affect you to the point to where now you start letting man dictate you mentally
Yeah.
to where now you're living life like Man,
As a lost
it said on there that I only got 2 months to live. But how is that what's put on there the same as what you're going through?
so just not to interrupt you, but that's
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
like for me, like I just had to sit with that. Like that's not my story. Is that may be similar? That may be what that person had to go through, but did that person have a family around them that believed in God? Did that person have a praying grandparent? Does that person have a church family that's praying behind them? Does that person, you know what I'm saying? Like me, I had to kind of like look outside of myself to see the whole situation and compare the two. And they say comparison is the thief of joy, but in this instance, I was able to take it and be like, all right, I'm young. I have so many positive things. This I think I truly believe me being diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer was a test, man. It was a test, and it was a sign from God to get me to slow down. That is my honest opinion. The way I was living life, like I was living wild. I was living fast. I was all over the place. I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say I was just a terrible person, but I wasn't, my priorities in life weren't okay. My family was straight, yeah, but I wasn't being the best husband that I could be. I was a good father, but I wasn't being the best father I could be. I was the best NCO, but I was a good NCO, but I wasn't being the best I could be. And for me, once this all happened and I had to just look at myself in the mirror, man, and then like that was the turning point for me. And
Mm,
that's the turning point for me for a lot of days. It's like, bro, I'm not where I used to be, but look at the progress. I'm fighting the most deadliest form of cancer that there is on this planet. The most deadly form. I only have 5 years to live max. A lot of people don't even make it past the first year after going what I've gone through.
mm,
So that in itself is a testament of, you know what I'm saying, the power of God and the power of prayer and just having strong hands over me. Like I know who has the last word. And although a lot of times and a lot of days I wish it would have been my last day, but my work here ain't done. And until that time comes, like all I can do is accept when I'm feeling trash and acknowledge that and live in that and hope to be better later on that day. Or I can just sit by and let life pass me by. But I'm only 33, man. I got a whole bunch of life to live. Even if my
man,
lifespan is 5 years from now, I got 4 years left, allegedly, right? According to man, I got 4 years left.
right.
I'm finna do everything I can to make sure that whatever happens at the end of the day, that everybody's stories about me are gonna be the same. You know what I'm saying? Because also, I just had a dream not too long ago. It was like, dang, imagine if I had passed right after surgery, what would everybody have said? There would have like I feel like nobody would have really known who I was. You would have heard, oh, Sergeant Sanders is this is that, he's dope, or my dad is this, and that, and he's dope. But there's people that wouldn't have never even come across each other and really would have never known who I really was had it not gotten to this point. Like this is given the opportunity for me to open up about who I am, open up about what I stand for, open up about um it gave me a chance to open my eyes and be vocal about the things that I see. Cause I mean, being in the military is like, you know, we're a lot of us are happy go lucky, like, hey, they ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just gonna mind my business and do what I gotta do and get out the way. And that's how I live my life. Like, hey, I'm gonna be at work. When I ain't at work, don't worry about that. I'm a totally different person. But that was dangerous for me. And I lived like that for a lot of years and it was successful. But now it's to the point where I don't even want to, you know what I'm saying? I've had the chance to turn that around. In this past year alone, man, I've created so many memories, man. And it hurts me sometimes because it's like, dang, this is what I wanted to live. This is the life that I was chasing all along. I was just going about it the wrong way. So that's why I say I believe that God put this on me to kind of get me to see a different perspective and to get me to go a different route. Again,
Yeah,
stage 4 lung cancer ain't a death sentence, but also it can kill you. Like, but will it? Who knows? That's not my decision to make. I don't have, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a clock. No doctor can tell me when my time is gonna go. And that was one of the things that the doctor said. He was like, I can't, I don't even feel comfortable giving you a timeline because you could beat it or you couldn't. And right now you're winning. So why even be depressed about it? You're beating something that a lot of people are struggling with. And like, I'll never forget going on Instagram and just telling my story and just people seeing my strength and reaching out to me and saying, "Oh man, you're so lucky." I know it was this guy in my inbox. He just lost his mom. He was like, "How did you deal with like what are you going through?" Because my mom was just diagnosed with this last month, and she is now here at this point. And then like 2 weeks later, she was gone. And he was like, I feel like I feel like she was recovering, but it just took a turn for the worse. And I feel like she had hope because I saw you and I was hoping she was gonna get to that point. And man, that hurt me so bad. But then it made
Yeah.
me feel grateful because it's like, that God makes no mistakes. And at the end of the day, I know I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And my purpose is again to encourage people, man, and to encourage people to live right and the love and to let people love you. Because as men, again, we don't like letting people in. We don't like being vulnerable. And we'll we'll take 1,000 lashes on the back and walk away and be okay. When we don't have to live life like that no more, man. We're in a brand new society. Things are changing. People care about us. And we just got to unlearn all the negative things that we've been taught about expressing ourselves and going through things, and again just allowing people to live. Like, I've never been so forthcoming with how I feel ever in my life until this happened. Like, my finger could be missing and I'll be like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm just gonna go to the hospital. Whole time I know I want to cry. Whole time I know I want to scream. But now when I'm not feeling good, nah, I'm not feeling too good today, man. I'm just gonna take a day off. Whereas last year I would have never done that. I got stuff to do. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta go, 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 go. I'll worry about that later. I've now transitioned to a place where I focus on my health. I focus on those around me. I focus on emotional intelligence because having to watch people grieve me in my face, that hurt me for so long and it still does. But I have to take it. I've had to think to myself, like, dang, I did just kind of dump on somebody. Like, that's a lot to tell somebody that, hey, I have stage 4 lung cancer. Because when you think stage four is the last stage you go before
Yep.
everything goes left. And again, if I didn't have people around me that kept me motivated, and if I didn't have people reaching out to me that said, "Hey, Trip, you're so strong, and thank you for fighting, thank you for giving me hope," like, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have, again, a praying family. If my wife wasn't here, my mother and my mother-in-law wasn't here, my dad. Like, I have so many people that pour into me and that are God fearing people and that let me know daily, "Hey, bro, it's bigger than you. You here for a reason. If you weren't supposed to be here, you would have been gone already. If you weren't supposed to be here, you would be gone." So take this time, take today. If you gotta take a knee today, take a knee. But tomorrow, bro, people need you. People need you.
Mm.
I'm I, I'm a beacon of hope and a beacon of strength, and I take pride in that. And
Yeah.
again, I just want to show, like, whatever you're going through, bro. Somebody always has it worse. Like, there was somebody, like, again, the dude that lost his mom. She probably wish she could be in my shoes. Wish she could be in my shoes. And here I am, upset that, you know what I'm saying, that I can't, upset that I gotta wear sunglasses inside, or upset that I gotta wear a hoodie, or upset that I can't be outside. Like, this lady lost her whole life, man. This dude lost his mom and then saw me on the internet living my best life. Like, imagine what that did for him. Like, dang, why him? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why him and not my mom? Like, what
Trust
did
me,
I do wrong?
but man, when and man, so many couple things you said, but the one thing you said, earlier, when you was talking was, God will get you to a point to to sit you down when you're doing too much, and you know all these other things have happened, and signs have been there to be like, you need to slow down, you need to slow down. And I'm not saying that, okay, God gave you cancer to slow you down, but sometimes, man, we just need a wake up call to understand. Like I had to understand my wake up call. When I got put into uh an inpatient mental hospital for 45 days, it was the hardest thing for me because I was locked up in this area, couldn't go nowhere, I the military shipped me from North Dakota to um, to Missouri, and I was there for 45 days. And I just remember, like, at that point, man, like I did a journal and I wrote every day because the first couple of weeks was hard because you don't have nobody and you're going through this and you're trying to understand, how did I get to this point? Like,
Man,
how did I get to a point to where everything was going good? Yes, I wasn't being the best, but nobody's perfect.
yeah,
But how do I get to this point to where now the military is shipping me? Before I left, they were already telling me I can't stay in. And bro, um I was at about to be, I mean, I did 15. I was that's the range I was at when I got shipped. And so I was like, I just want to do my last 5 years. Like, that's all I kept saying when I left. But through the process of what I went through and understanding that sometimes your pathway is different,
mm-hmm,
and you have to understand that everyone has a different journey that they're on.
definitely.
And when you talk about the guy that lost his mom, and I think about that because I look at, man, I know so many people that have lupus. And when this was before um, I started, knowing people um, that I know now, but like, just in general, when my mom passed, I was like, God, why my mom? She was a good lady. She put up with me when I wasn't even treating her right, but she was such a good woman. Why her at this point of her life? And to understand, and that's why go back to what we said earlier, to live life and don't take life for granted. Like, when I was getting out, I was upset. But then, like I was telling you before we started the show, about how I got my VA and my Air Force um, decision, and I was like, well, I'm cool. And so in my mind, I was like, I'm going home. I'm going to bring my mom up to Texas, and I'm gonna spend time with her. Lo and behold, it didn't happen because God had other plans. And so for me, it made me realize, man, cherish the time you have with people. Cherish the time that you have with your friends. Cherish the time that you have with your wife, your husband, your kids, your brothers, like, cherish that time. We all get to this point of, I'm busy with life.
Yep.
And I get it. We all busy. We got to make the money. We got to do this. But sometimes you got to stop. You have to stop and say, I got to take the time, because before you know it, and I see this all the time on social media, on Facebook, saying, where did the time go? That my child is now 16, 17, and I remember when I was just teaching them how to ride a bike. And understanding, spending that quality time is important because you can't get that time back. And I took for granted, and I had to go through what I had to go through when I lost my mom. And I understood that because I took for granted someone who was the important piece puzzle in my life, the rock of me and my brother's life, but yet being able to understand that life is not promised to anyone. And the plans that you make, don't try to say, I'm gonna call this person. And that's the other thing. Man, I'm not trying to go over, but man, I gotta say this. We always say, I'm gonna call you tomorrow. I'm gonna call this person tomorrow. Tomorrow might be too late.
Yep.
I did that with one of my god brothers. I remember his brother called me. I was stationed in Minot, North Dakota, and I remember his brother called me, and I was like, "Man, I'm glad you called me. I was to call your brother this weekend." He tells me that his brother brain dead, passed,
Uh,
and it did something to me because it made me understand when you say you're gonna call somebody, call them because you don't know why they're on your mind.
yep.
And again, it's dealing with the mental health because it's there's a reason why they came on your mind. Call them. Don't ignore it.
Yep.
Don't
Don't wait.
ignore the signs. What you want to say, Trip?
I said, don't wait. Like when that happened to you, bro. Like, did you feel guilty for not calling them? Like, were you able to forgive yourself? Because I know I
Bro,
went.
so let me tell you, when I went to the funeral, because he was Navy, and I wore my dress blues. I was still in, of course, I was still in the military station in North Dakota, and I just remember being at the funeral. Man, I cried the whole time because that's all I could think about. That's all that was on my mind. Like, why didn't I? When I said I was going to call him, why say wait? And the weekend was like 3 days later. And the same thing when it came to my mom because I said, man, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go home, once I get settled. But I remember my mom asking me, "Are you coming here?" And my brother asking me, "Are you coming here first? Are you going home? Are you going to Texas?" And I was like, "Man, I need to get settled." But I never got to see my mom the year that she passed, and that ate me up. That ate me up for so long because I was like, "How do I deal with this?" Because mentally, it affected me. Mentally, I couldn't go on because my god brother, my mom, the signs were there.
Yeah.
The thinking about it was you need to do this, but I didn't act on it. And that's the problem that we have. We don't act on things because we're like, no. And sometimes it can be that way, but most of the time, man, when somebody's on your mind, there's a reason. I'm telling you, I know I don't know if you ever heard of a empath person, but I just
Yeah.
literally found out about that within the last couple of years what that is, and people say that I'm an empath person because I feel people's emotions, and I started to realize that, and man, I'm telling you, just the understanding and the impact of understanding. I need to call this person, and so when I do, 9 times out of 10, that person tells me your call was right on time. I was going through this, and so I learned from the passing of my mom, the passing of my godbrother, that I can't be slow to act on something.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand, and anybody who's watching, anybody who will watch this show, like to understand, man, like life waits on no one. And we have to call and we have to love on the people that we have. Because I never want anyone whenever I'm called home, I never want anyone to feel like I should have kept in touch with him. I should have did this. There should not ever be a should have. There should be I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And now he's resting. And just like you, the people that surrounding you, understanding that this time that they have with you to enjoy it, to understand the impact that it will leave on them, the memories that you talked about, to understand the memories. And people don't think about, but memories are so important
Man.
because they help you remember. Once a person leaves, they help you remember the good times,
Yeah.
so you can focus on that while you're grieving, instead of focusing on the bad things.
Yep.
Because the more you focus on the bad things while you're grieving, it messes with your mental health because you're stuck here now having to deal with what you're going through because of that person is no longer here. But the impact that you have, and bro, I know that the impact that you have will not just touch the people around you in your inner circle, but it will touch thousands because of your testimony, because of your resiliency through everything that you've been through. It shows the impact that you can have just by being able to speak and say this, not being able to say, hey, you know, it's not a death sentence. It's not a well, woe is me sentence. It's I have this, but it's not going to dictate who I am. I'm
Exactly.
Xavier. I was born Xavier. I'm gonna die Xavier. But the thing that this is not going to do is kill who Xavier is not going to let it affect me mentally. So I again, man, I keep saying it, but I applaud you because there's so many people that let and I'm here and I'm gonna let you get the final thoughts. But I'll say this last point. It's so many people that let their illnesses dictate who they are
Yeah.
instead of understanding that it's just that illness and it's easier said than done. And I take a page from it as well because I did it myself. But to understand that there are people that are dealing with things in their life, and we have to be grateful that we're still 6 feet above and not 6 feet under, and understand that this life, we have to appreciate it. Even though we might be going through something bad, we have to look at life and say, man, I'm still living. I'm still here. I'm still able to see. I'm still able to breathe because I don't know when that's going to be taken away from me. But my legacy will live on because I lived a life and I was happy. And my kids, my family, my friends saw me live my life to the best of my ability. I
Yeah.
did not let this illness take me out, but God took me out when it was time for me to go.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you have your final thoughts, man. I could talk about this all day.
First and foremost, man, I thank y'all for having me. Thanks, Kev. Man, these conversations are dope. This is what my third show with y'all,
Yep.
and hey, I love the platform, and I definitely want to keep appearing on here. With this being my third show, man, my parting thoughts, my final thoughts are, thank you to Chelsea, my mom, my mother-in-law, my dad, all my kids, my supervisor, the Air Force, my commanders, my community, my village, my family, everybody that supports me, man. I appreciate y'all. Like y'all have no clue what y'all do for me daily. Um, I know I put y'all through a lot this past year, and we've definitely grown. We've definitely hit some bumps in the road, but thank y'all for encouraging me. Thank y'all for loving me. Thank y'all for being understanding. Thank y'all for being patient. Thank y'all for not quitting on me because I know I don't make this easy most days. But if it wasn't for y'all, man, I wouldn't be here. Y'all keep me from not quitting. Love your people while you can, while you're here, because you never know whose last day it is, man. And that's pretty much where I stand, man. Love your people, love your community, and thank y'all for having me. And hey, be trill. To thy own self, be trill.
Mm. I appreciate you, man. Trey, I really appreciate you just being transparent, being genuine, being open. I think somebody will see this and somebody will be blessed from this. I pray that in the coming weeks, that if you can just touch one person to be able to understand that what they have, that it's not a death sentence. It's life, and you have to live life until there's no more life in you.
For
But
sure.
definitely don't let it affect who you are. So again, man, I appreciate you. Look forward to you being on a future show. But We're going to end it tonight. As always, whether it's early morning, mid afternoon, or late at night, a cup of Joe in the conversation will always get you right. This has been Coffee and Conversation with Kevin Smith. Have a good night.
Peace.